of USC's best women's hoopers heard their names called during one of the biggest days of their lives, the WNBA draft. We'll walk you through both of their new teams. Crosstown showdown. USC takes on UCLA in 3 of its top sports this week. We'll prepare you for the entire slate of matchups. And football analyst Thomas Johnson breaks down USC's top-ranked football recruiting class. All that and more coming up next on Sports Scene.
With the 4th pick in the 2025 WNBA draft, the Washington Mystics select Okikiola Iriafen, University of Southern California.
Welcome back to Sports Scene. I'm Nolan Ezett.
I'm Liam Irvin.
And I'm Chris Ajose Nixon. The Trojans have added another first-rounder to their collection, this time for women's basketball. Kiki Iriafen didn't have to wait long to hear her name Monday night. The Washington Mystics drafted her at 4 with their 2nd pick of the evening. She'll join a young Mystic squad along with their 2 other first-round picks, Sonia Citron and Georgia Amor. Iriafen wasn't on any draft radars until her breakout last season with Stanford sent her flying up 2025 draft boards. She averaged 19.4 points and 11 rebounds as a junior, earning Pac-12 Most Improved Player and All-Conference honors. Then she transferred to USC over the summer, where she followed it up with averages of 18 points and 8.4 rebounds, including more than 4 offensive rebounds per game, which finished with a top 15 mark in the country. Here's what she had to say about her journey after being selected by Washington.
I've just been resilient. There's been a lot in my last season, and I just trusted the process. I'm a woman of faith, so I just trust in God. I was very prayerful, and so I'm getting a little nervous.
Okay, that's okay.
But I'm just super grateful to be here, and I give all the glory to God.
So, Kiki is headed to the DMV. I have 2 questions. We'll start with you, Liam. Number 1, do you like the pick for Washington? And number 2, do you like the fit for Kiki?
I mean, I think as a DC native, I'm biased in saying this, but I think you can't help but be excited about this pick. And the entire draft for the Mystics, really. Citron was a great pick as well, Amor. And, a stacked first round for the Mystics after a struggling season last year. I am a little concerned with the front court depth and how that's going to work out, considering last season Stephanie Dolson was one of the main scorers for the Mystics, 9.5 points per game, 4.9 rebounds. And then you turn to someone else, Aaliyah Edwards, who also had 7.6 points per game. There's a situation where Kiki might start the season coming off the bench, which might be interesting for her development.
I mean, I gotta be honest. I disagree a little bit. I think Aaliyah Edwards, obviously, that's their star forward on this team. I think Kiki enters the squad absolutely the most talented, and I think in a year or 2, honestly, might be better than Aaliyah Edwards. You said Aaliyah Edwards, 7.5 a game, also 5-6 rebounds a game. Great player. I think in terms of guard depth, it seems like there's a little bit more there than forward depth. So I think this pick is awesome. I think it allows Washington to get to the point where they need, where they've got a star, or at least a very competent player at every point of the court.
For me, I understand. I like the approach of going for a high upside player, like you guys said. I think she can develop into a great player in this league, but I think they have to be willing to kind of experiment with some lineups. I mean, you talked about some of the players that they already have in there. They might have to experiment with going big, get Citron out there with a bunch of bigs and see what happens there. So I think they're going to have to experiment to get all these players on the court at the same time, but I think it's an approach that makes a lot of sense. But mission accomplished for Kiki Iriafen, as she will immediately shift her focus to this summer's WNBA season. The Mystics open it up at home against the Atlanta Dream on May 16th.
That's not it for the Trojans, though. USC veteran Rayah Marshall heard her name called as well.
Hey, Rayah, this is Morgan Tuck.
Wait, let me. Y'all can disconnect because this is my family here with me.
The forward was selected 25th overall by the Connecticut Sun. Forward joins a squad that finished the 2024 season with a 28-12 record. Her strong post moves and key defensive efforts could prove to be vital in putting the Sun over the edge. Marshall had a strong 4-year career as a Trojan. She nearly averaged a triple-double with 10 and 9 as one of USC's top scoring options. More important to Marshall's contributions, though, are her electric plays on defense. Her presence in the paint scared opponents away as she averaged 2.5 blocks a game. Now, we all saw Marshall's efforts pay off at the collegiate level here at USC, but I want to ask you guys, the competition for her is going to be more fierce now. As a second-round pick, what can we expect her contributions to be?
Yeah, I think in the second round of the WNBA draft, if you can make a roster that first year, that's already a pretty good result. It's not a lot of those players that can make a roster. I think she's capable of that. This is a team that lost all 5 of their starters, the first team in NBA or WNBA history to have that happen. They're a completely clean slate for her to run into this year, and I think she can provide a lot of what she provided at SC, the tough rebounding, the rim protection, and I think a really underrated passer. They're going to have to figure out how to space the floor, not a lot of shooting up there, and a little bit of a crowded front court with Tina Charles and Olivia Nelson-Nadota still in there. But I think she can make an impact, maybe if not from game 1, some point during this first season.
When you talk about a team like Connecticut, you're targeting high upside picks, and I think Marshall is exactly that. Obviously, she came to USC with huge expectations, McDonald's All-American, someone that Gottlieb was very high on coming into the program. And to be fair, she did kind of come up short on those expectations, but I think you saw glimpses. For instance, in that Elite Eight game, 23 points, 15 boards with Juju Watkins' absence. I think she's a player that fills her role very well, and in this new Connecticut system, I think it might be interesting to see what role she kind of shapes out to play.
I think no one doubts Marshall's raw talent. I think no one doubts Marshall's contributions on the defensive end and even, down in the block, getting those rebounds. Did that the entire season. I think the biggest concern was how come she's not putting up the points that we were hoping that she could. But she still has that raw talent. And as you said, Chris, if you're on a team that has lost its entire starting roster, that gives you an opportunity to, you're thrown in the fire a little bit. It might be rough from day one, but I think that's going to accelerate her developmental process. Only one way to find out. We'll see what happens if she starts, but if she does, I think that'd be really great for her development. Now, she's already off to work. The WNBA season begins in just over a month from now in the middle of May. Iriafen and Marshall will both look to make the WNBA highlight reel. But Casey, let's pull up the USC tape.
From Trojans to Projans, Kiki, Iriafen, and Rayah Marshall left their marks on the Galen Center court. Welcome to Replay Room. Step into my office. We have some plays to break down. Now, first, let's look at Kiki Iriafen, of course, one of the top prospects in the WNBA. Here's a play here in March Madness, taking the pass at the top of the arc, and she kind of looks like she's going to be a facilitator with Howell cutting, but she's going to create organic space. Look, the defender's not even looking at her, just like a greenhouse, creating that organic space, takes the mid-range look. She's great from there, gets it to go, and of course, her mid-range ability and her versatility are what are going to make her a great player in the WNBA, able to score really inside the arc from anywhere. She's a player that is really plug and play and adaptable. But let's take a look at Rayah Marshall on the block, taking advantage of the mismatch. Paige Becker's guarding her a guard, and she's able to lay it in with ease. And so Rayah Marshall is another player that will certainly be out there to look for on the block if she can make the roster. But USC will have big shoes to fill with Iriafen and Marshall now in the pros, but this past season's glory will etch them both in the legacy forever. But now that's it for the Replay Room. Thomas, tell us about the incoming football youngsters.
Thanks, Casey. Since we last talked about recruiting, USC has only added to its #1 class in the nation. The Trojans have 22 verbal commitments, which is 8 more than any other top 50 class in the nation. The Trojans have picked up 5 recruits since the start of April, 3 of them hailing from California and the other 2 from Texas. The big get here is Tomu Tapui, who is committed to the Oregon Ducks for 5 months before flipping to the Trojans. Tapui hails from Mater Dei, a local high school which USC has not recruited well in the past few recruiting cycles. The Trojans have 2 former Monarchs on the roster, but neither of them were ranked highly as a prospect. Tapui represents a shift in USC's recruiting strategy. There are multiple other top Mater Dei recruits who the Trojans have a chance at. Cody Green is currently committed to Oregon, but Mark Bowman, Caden Dixon-Wyatt, and Sean Scott are all top 300 recruits who are not committed to any school. I said it a while back, if USC wants to succeed, the Trojans have to recruit close to campus. Lincoln Riley is doing just that. Now USC has to put a good product on the field. Let's see if they can do just that. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Thomas. Still ahead, the Bats are hot as the Trojans baseball squad capped a weekend series against Penn State. And beach volleyball reflects on an up-and-down weekend in San Luis Obispo. All that and more coming up next.
USG election season has kicked off.
They have a huge game on Thursday, right?
Huge.
Prior to that, he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat.
And a warning tonight about a massive storm heading our way. We're live here at the Galen Center.
What would y'all do if you had $2.5 million?
Music, art, and women empowerment.
And she put her stamp on Big Ten history.
Those are men swimming like fish.
Thanks for watching.
Annenberg TV News.
You never miss an episode.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Thanks for watching.
So, live from the Halo is USC Annenberg's take on NPR's Tiny Desk concerts. This is like a platform for USC students and adjunct students just to perform and play their music for an audience.
USC baseball is in full swing. The Trojans ventured into State College for a high-stakes Big Ten showdown against the Penn State Nittany Lions in a 3-game set this past weekend. Game 1 went in favor of the Nittany Lions. Trojans looking to bounce back on Saturday, and who else but Braden Dowd, continuing his consistency, a single up the middle to extend the Trojans' lead. They took Game 2 6-3. To Sunday, how about the Big Ten Player of the Week, Adri Covarrubias? With a 2 RBI single, he tallied 3 RBIs in this game. USC steals the series from Penn State with an 11-6 win on Sunday. Let's take a look at the Big Ten standings. After the 5th straight series win for the Trojans, they sit at 4th place. Crosstown rivals UCLA sit atop the Big Ten Conference at 12-3. They will face off against the 12-6 third-place Oregon Ducks this weekend. In a pickle between the two, the Iowa Hawkeyes at 14 wins and 4 losses, and back to 4th place again, the Trojans at 11-7. However, following the series win, a tough Hawaii team faced off last night against the Trojans. Heading into the top of the 9th, USC maintained a 4-3 lead until the Rainbow Warriors delivered a clutch shingle. Late heroics lead to a Hawaii victory, final score 5-4. USC drops to 23-13 with the loss. Looking ahead, they will take on Gonzaga for a non-conference series at Great Park starting on Thursday. Speaking of highlight reels, USC's series wasn't the only place we saw game-saving moments. Let's take a look at this week's top plays.
Welcome to Trojan Top Plays, where we cover the top 3 plays from your Trojans this week. Starting off at number 3, we have redshirt junior Bryce Martin Gutzelanek. Call him Frank Sinatra because that ball is going to fly away. BMG pipes his 6th home run of the season into right field, en route to the Trojans beating Penn State 11-6 on Sunday. Taking the number 2 spot, junior Mabin Thomas snipes the final point of the match against Cal Poly, ruining their senior night. Thomas and her partner took the 4th set, sealing the victory for the Trojans. And finally, your top highlight of the week comes from Trojan track and field. No one is catching these guys. Max Thomas, Garrett Colland, Eddie Nikita, Travis Williams, and J.C. Stevenson smoked the competition in the 100 meters at the Texas A&M track and field competition, taking the top 5 places for their event. Those are your top 3 plays from the Trojans this week. From the court to the field, the Trojans were on fire. Now let's serve it back over to Nolan with some news in tennis.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. I'm excited to be here. Now I see why Liam likes it so much. There's nothing like a tennis court on a sunny day as the school year winds down, and I think that's the philosophy that USC women's tennis has adopted as the 13-5 squad continued its winning streak over the weekend and now ranks 16th in the nation. USC faced off against Big Ten opponents Nebraska and Iowa. The Trojans topped the Cornhuskers with ease Friday, 4-0. And if it couldn't get any better to be a Trojan, they effortlessly beat the Hawkeyes 4-0 on Sunday. But the time is now. Literally, USC is taking on crosstown rival and number 22 in the nation, UCLA, as I speak. The Trojans are over in Westwood trying to finish where they left off after beating the Bruins 4-3 last month. After its matchup against UCLA, USC takes on Rutgers on Friday and then Maryland on Saturday. Big Ten Conference play is next. Chris, I heard women's tennis isn't the only squad at USC that takes on UCLA this week. Let's hear it.
That's right, Nolan. Thanks. USC Beach Volleyball spent the weekend in San Luis Obispo competing in the Center of Effort Challenge. It was a 3-1 weekend for the Trojans, who finished third in the tournament. Number 7, Florida State, and number 3, Cal Poly were the opponents for USC on Friday, and the Trojans won both before falling to number 5, Stanford in the semifinal and then beating number 4, LMU to secure third place. Now they shift their focus to the crosstown showdown with UCLA Thursday.
We're feeling great. We had a pretty good weekend this past weekend, and our biggest thing is like peaking in May, and we've had some ups and downs, so we're like very, very ready. We're ready to, and we're playing them on their senior day, so we're ready to give them a good old USC fight.
So the Trojans look to spoil the Bruins senior night and finish their season off on a high note this week. Meanwhile, men's volleyball looks to rebound against the Bruins. Scott Hills has more.
Men's volleyball had a tough weekend, extending its losing streak to 3. USC now ranks 10th in the country with a 19-5 record. Next up, the Trojans play the Bruins on the road on Thursday and then at Galen Center on Saturday. Be sure to watch out for star players Cooper Robinson and Cameron Thorne. Robinson has an impressive 343 points and 285 kills on the season. Thorne, on the other hand, boasts 90 blocks of his own that dominate opponents. After the 2 matchups against the Bruins, MPSF tournament play will begin, where the Trojans then look to get back on a hot streak.
Well, Nolan, I'm stealing your thunder. Although the Southern California skies are gray on this Wednesday morning, the 5-day forecast for upcoming USC sports provides some sunlight into this weekend. Today, right now, as we mentioned, women's tennis will be the first of many this upcoming week of crosstown showdowns facing off against UCLA. We mentioned the baseball team with the loss last night. And then Thursday, a day of sets and spikes as women's beach volleyball and men's volleyball clash with the Bruins at 2:30 and 7:30 respectively. Friday and Saturday begin the weekend with women's and men's tennis, and on Saturday, men's volleyball will rematch UCLA. From the hard courts to the sand, it's a packed week ahead. The Trojans' 5-day forecast isn't just calling for sunshine, it's calling for Trojan victories. Speaking of victories, we send it over to Terrence and his inexperienced guest, Casey Kasliner, for this week's edition of Trojan of the Week.
Welcome back to Trojan of the Week. Only 2 shows left, with plenty of jousting left this semester. And well, this week, I'm the grandpa on the show as I'm joined by Casey Kasliner without my usual partner. And Frank already talked about this guy, but my Trojan of the Week is Max Thomas. Thomas won his 2 events this past week at the Texas A&M Farms 44 Invitational, winning the 100-meter dash, setting his personal record, and also helped USC set the 4x100 record for the program, which was the fastest in the NCAA and 5th fastest in the world this year.
Well, I got Trojan second baseman Avery Covarrubias. He's not just the Trojan of the Week, but he was also named Big Ten Player of the Week for his outstanding play over the weekend against Penn State. Now, this week, Covarrubias has hit 400 with 3 RBIs and 2 stolen bases, not to mention a perfect fielding percentage and extending his hitting streak to 8 games with hits in 11 of his last 12. Without this week's Big Ten Player of the Week, USC doesn't win their 5th straight Big Ten series and a crucial one against a good Nittany Lion group.
Well, Casey, I'm going to go first for this one, and I just think you are not leveling the right competition for this. They were facing off USC track and field, that is Max Thomas, the #1 team in the country in Texas A&M, the #11 team in Nebraska, and the #18 in Houston. They beat them all. They set records. That is not even close to what
They set records. You didn't say Max Thomas once in that sentence.
Max Thomas is a part of that. He was part of the record.
So was Avery Covarrubias. He was the Big Ten Player of the Week. He was the best player in the Big Ten.
No, but what record did he set?
They didn't set a record.
Did he set a personal record of hits? What about RBIs or home runs?
Personal record. So the bar could be really low for that. It doesn't matter.
But he didn't break anything. He didn't do anything.
He didn't break anything. He hit 400.
He ran a sub-10 100-meter dash, and he was the first. He was beating 4 other Trojans as well as the #1 team in the country.
I have a quote for you, actually, by Max Thomas on his X account. He said, 38.41 from me and the boys. He's acknowledging the fact that he was just 1/3 of that record. He was not a big part of it by any means.
Casey, he was 1/4. There's 4 people in a 4x100. Second, me is in there as well. You can't act like he wasn't a part of the team. And if we're going to talk about team sports, let's talk about those 2 losses that USC had this weekend. They lost to Penn State and they lost to Hawaii last night, where Aber only had 1 hit.
Only 1 hit.
Only
you can make
one
millions
hit.
of dollars getting 1 hit in a baseball game.
What kind of argument is that?
He hit 400 this week.
He had 1 hit in a game they lost where they were saved by BMG.
They won a series against Penn State, who's above them in the standings. What are you arguing?
It's a mediocre team. You're comparing the number 1 team in the country in Texas A&M.
You're number 2. The number 2 team should be able to beat the number 1 team in the country.
But it's still the number 1 team compared to an unranked Penn State, who is now medium.
It's all relative. It's all relative. USC's number 2 in track and field. They beat the number 1 team. Sure, great. Both Penn State and USC baseball are unranked. What's your argument?
My argument is that they are beating the number 1 team in the country.
And they're number 2. It's all relative. That's not that impressive.
You're just saying that beating ranked teams isn't a good thing. You're playing against mediocre opponents. That's all it is. That's what the baseball team did. It was good. He played well. It was nothing close to what Max Thomas did.
Nothing close is ridiculous. I also didn't know we were dressing casual this week, but I stand corrected. Terrence lost this week, but maybe he can redeem himself sometime in the future if he's lucky. Next on Sports Scene, the NBA postseason is underway, and the play-in has proved that no team is going out without a fight. Plus, baseball is back, and the SoCal teams are swinging for the fensive. Grab some popcorn. We'll be right back.
I've replaced your shoelaces with fruit by the foot.
So you did. I replaced your fingers with fruit by the foot.
Bravo. I've replaced your bones with fruit by the foot.
Indeed you have. I replaced your guitar strings with fruit by the foot.
Seems like a step backwards, but alright. I've replaced your DNA with fruit by the foot. That would be end game, my friend.
Fruit by the foot. Fruit-flavored snack.
Are you guilty of driving while talking on your cell phone?
Hi, Billy Mays here for the Jupiter Jack. The most convenient hands-free device for any cell phone, guaranteed. Plug it into any phone and mount it on the dash. Preset your radio to 99.3 FM and you're ready to go. Jupiter Jack transmits quality sound through the speakers in your car. Instead of hearing music, you hear the other person. No plugs, no wires, no hands. Call now and get the Jupiter Jack for just $40. Order right now and we'll cut the price in half. You'll get the Jupiter Jack for only $19.99. As a bonus, we'll also include the Jupiter Jack phone mount. It mounts easily and adjusts to fit any shape or size phone. Just pay separate shipping and handling. That means you get the Jupiter Jack and the phone mount, a huge value, all for just $19.99.
Have your credit card ready and call 1-800-346-5231. But call now. We're giving away a bonus dashboard mount with all of today's orders. So call 1-800-346-5231. Call now.
Welcome back to Sports Scene. As the regular season is wrapped up, the road to the NBA Finals is officially underway. 2 play-in games last night. We bring in Daniel Palmore to break down the matchups. Daniel, a not-so-close one in the first game as the Hawks faced the Magic, and a closer ending in the Warriors-Grizzlies game. What stood out to you?
That's right, Liam. It's the most exciting time in the Hoops calendar as another 82-game regular season is in the books, and it's time for playoff basketball. The playoff bracket is set for the most part as the 2 8th seeds in both conferences will be confirmed at the end of the week. The Warriors and Magic locked up the 7th seeds in their respective conferences after last night's play-in victories. In the play-in matchup between the Magic and Hawks, Orlando took care of business at home and won by 25 as Trae Young was ejected in the 4th quarter. In the Bay Area, Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler combined for 75 points in Golden State's clutch win over Memphis. And luckily for both teams in LA, they were both able to avoid the play-in tournament as they get ready to begin their playoff runs on Saturday. The Clippers take on Denver at 12:30, and the Lakers close out the opening slate of games at 5:30 against the Timberwolves. And I now bring in with me Kyle O'Kay. Kyle, lots of great play-in tournament action, playoff action, but what do you think is going to happen in tonight's games between the Bulls and the Hawks to start?
Thank you, Daniel. I'm really enjoyed to be here. I think with the Bulls, I'm going to break down some stats for you. The last five games that the Bulls have had at the end of the regular season, they've won 4 out of the last 5. And the last 3 games that they've played the Miami Heat in the regular season, the Bulls won all 3 of those games. Mm-hmm. So Vegas has the Bulls favored by 1.5 points tonight. I'm rolling with the Bulls. They're a young team. They really made some noise at the end of the season with Josh Giddey, Kevin Huerter, even USC alumni Nikola Vucevic. I really don't see, the Miami Heat beating the Bulls tonight.
Kyle, I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you because I do think that the Heat are a little more top-heavy than the Bulls. I like what Tyler Hero's done this year. Bam Adebayo. Andrew Wiggins has had a few good games after being acquired at the trade deadline. So I just like what Miami is doing. And in terms of playoff basketball, I'd rather trust the Heat than the Bulls in this kind of situation. But what do you think about the next matchup between the Kings and the Mavericks?
Again, I'm rolling with the Kings here. I really... Dallas has gone through a series of unfortunate events these last few months, as we all may have seen. But I just think with the Kings, they're another young team, new additions with DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Vegas has them favored by 5.5 points tonight. And I think they're just going to prove and really, show that light to the beam against the Mavericks tonight.
Well, Kyle, I guess we're just not going to agree on anything today because I'm going to roll with the Dallas Mavericks. AD all day. Anthony Davis is the best player on the court, and I just think the Kings have no answers for a healthy Anthony Davis. I know he's a game-time decision, but I mean, it's postseason basketball, so I fully expect Anthony Davis to play and do his thing out there tonight.
Yeah, you're right. We may not disagree, but one thing that we can, for sure understand is that these games tonight are must-win for all the teams, or else they're going to be chanting Team Cancun on 3, and they're going to be gone fishing. That's for
exactly
sure.
Right. And this year's postseason has a chance to be one of the best in recent memory, as it seems there's really no team that's a certified lock to win it all. But that's all we have for the NBA, and now let's go to the Diamond for some baseball updates.
Well, thanks, Daniel. Interesting insight on those play-in games all happening tonight. Baseball is alive and well in Southern California, where the Dodgers, coming off the World Series, are dealing dominance, and the Padres are quietly stacking wins. The Padres are off to a strong start to the season after losing the NL Divisional Series last year. Fernando Tatis Jr. has come out scorching hot to the season, hitting .354 with 6 home runs, tied for second in the MLB. Alongside Luis Arraez, Manny Machado, and new cleanup hitter Gavin Sheets, the Padres claim the top of the National League West Division. To the Dodgers, the World Series champs defending got off to an undefeated 6-0 start, but have since cooled off. But don't count out Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and company. The Dodger Blues have halted for now, but the 13-6 Dodgers now place at third in a tough National League West. Comparing the SoCal dominance, the Dodgers and division rival Padres, early season success has come in different ways, but led to similar results. Los Angeles has relied on the long ball almost double the amount of times than the Padres, clubbing 31 homers compared to the Padres' 18. However, the Padres' total hits beats the Dodgers by 25, and San Diego boasts 2 more wins on the season. So, Chris, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, not a shabby start by any means for the season for the Dodgers so far, but at third in the NL West, obviously a bit unexpected for the defending World Series champs. What are your thoughts so far?
I can't say that I'm worried about the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is one of the most talented baseball rosters of all time. I mean, we have 3 MVPs starting off the order and then all types of pitching talent and depth. We'll see, who can stay healthy, but it almost doesn't matter. They have like 6 or 7 guys that can pitch at an all-star level. I'm absolutely not worried about the Dodgers. I think it's great for baseball that for once somebody's going to be able to give them some competition in the NL West. We didn't even mention the Giants, who are playing good baseball right now as well. I think it's going to be great for baseball, and at the end of the day, I also think the Dodgers are going to come out on top.
Well, Chris, I absolutely think the Dodgers should be concerned because when you're the defending champion and you have quite possibly the best roster in MLB history, you are falling short if you don't win the World Series. They have to get there. And now in their division, they've got this Padres team that has a better record than them, and they have the second best batting average in the MLB right now and the second best ERA. They can do it all. Do they have the players that the Dodgers do? No, but they've got some awesome guys like Machado, Tatis, Merrill. They've got 5 players batting over 300. It's a very respectable team. Put some respect on that name. And if the Dodgers don't win the World Series, that's a disappointment.
Well, some statistics to back up the reason why the Padres have been doing so well. Their depth is incredible. 1 through 9 they can hit. When you look at the Dodgers lineup, Shohei Ohtani has taken 7 plate appearances with runners in scoring position. That's the 3rd fewest among qualified MLB hitters. That means the bottom of that Dodgers lineup is not producing to flip it back to the top. Obviously, it's a top-heavy lineup. Betts, Shohei, Freddie, etc. But with a banged-up Dodgers team and a 7.01 ERA for the Dodgers pitching staff so far, it's scary hours in Dodger Stadium for sure. One thing is clear, though, the dominance remains on the West Coast in the MLB. The Dodgers will enter a 3-game set against the Rangers starting Friday night.
That's all the time that we have for you guys on Sports Scene today. I'm Nolan Ezett.
I'm Liam Irvin.
And I'm Chris Jose Nixon.